would want to use myself as an instrument to benefit other people.
Wow.
I think I'm creative in making it work, and I approached it the right way. I think in terms of in the beginning, just really putting a lot of effort into getting my first clients,
Mhm.
building good relationships.
Yeah, so I also don't know where to start, to be honest.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
I wanted to start this series because I wanted to learn more about people's daily life
Yeah,
at work,
yeah,
how they experience at work, and if it is a big part of their, let's say, if they have ambitions at work, or if it's just like the way to make money and to
yeah,
get around.
yeah, exactly.
And that's, then I started last time with Ruben.
Yeah, my name is Teun. Yeah, of course, it feels a bit weird to introduce myself to you. Yeah,
Fair. Sorry, what is your educational background?
right.
And how did you come from your education towards, let's say, your first job?
Yeah,
What
yeah.
is that path?
Got it. My first education was communication and multimedia design.
Okay.
And I did it for about half a year. Then I figured out that it wasn't for me at that time. And then I switched to applied psychology, and that's my education that I finished. It took me about 5 years. And after that, I did a post HBO course that schools you to become a corporate training actor.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay, that's more
that's the
clear.
path.
Yeah, I imagine that is not the most straightforward decision to make after your applied psychology to
Yeah.
become a corporate training actor.
Exactly. Yeah, it was a bit of a strange path, and also quite an unclear path in the beginning. Yeah, there were a lot of insecure factors in my life at that time. I had a side job at the railway company, and on the side, I was following my post HBO course. And in that period, I also got like my first clients where I could work as a corporate training actor.
During the training, doing that education, that post-education thing,
Yeah,
you already got your first client.
exactly. It was kind of a mess in that way that I had a few clients here and there, but also this side job to pay rent with.
Right.
And,
Like something comes to mind now when you are doing your applied psychology education.
yep.
I imagine what you're trying to do is kind of, I guess learn some things about people who have some psychological issues.
Yeah, sometimes.
And
Yeah.
in that sense, did you also encounter already the actors
Yeah,
from that? And that is how you got
exactly.
your first gig from that? Or is that a bit?
Yeah, that's almost how it went.
Okay.
Very close, because it's I didn't know about this job for the first probably 4 years of that education that I followed, and I had no clue that it was a thing. And in the very last, I think, not sure which semester it was, but I think one of the last two, I got to follow an optional course that was given by a teacher that also had some theater experience, I believe, and she also had experience working as a corporate training actress. And she gave that course, and that inspired me because at that time I was finishing up my thesis.
Thesis, I think.
Yeah, and that was very exact and very straightforward in the sense it didn't really. It was interesting to do, but it didn't really spike my passion.
Okay.
And then the course that I was following from this teacher was super fun, super practical, very interactive.
Yeah.
And that really sparked some joy in me, I think.
So you really like it if it's a bit more applied, and maybe even if you can interact with people, because you also did that job at the railway station, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
A railway station, railway company. Yeah.
Sorry.
You are then interested in the psyche of the human mind, and you like to do some stuff which is with the people and applied, and that drove you a little bit into that
direction.
Yeah, into the direction.
Definitely. Yeah, and it kind of ties together in a strange way. I had this moment in the second year of applied psychology where we had like a midterm conversation with one of the mentors we had.
Yeah.
And they continually ask you, how do you see your career path in a few years, and what direction do you want to go? I had no clue at that time, but there was like one thing that I knew that would work for me, and I told him that I would want to use myself as an instrument to benefit other people.
Wow.
And that's of course super vague.
Wow, but where did that came
Yeah.
from? That statement is pretty.
Yeah, I don't know. I
wow.
think maybe quite early on in my studies, I was very into self development stuff and all that. Maybe a bit too much. I went a bit.
Which age was that?
I think I was about 18.
Wow. Okay, that's
Yeah,
all
something-
early for that, maybe,
Yeah,
right?
maybe. Yeah, it was.
It was necessary.
It was very necessary. Yeah. No, I think that kind of I got kind of drawn to that, and I've always been quite a sensitive person. I think I do have a sense for sensing other people's emotions.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah, I can vouch for that. I think you have a good sense of the vibe in a certain group in the crowd. Also,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
whoa, yeah, you can sense the crowd well. That's also why I think you are like a very funny guy, because you can really,
Thanks, Tim.
like, your
Thanks.
timings are on point, and I think you can also sense if someone maybe is feeling less comfortable or something. So
Thanks,
there,
man.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if you worked for that or if it's natural to you, but you have it.
I don't know. Yeah, and that was an insight I got quite early on at that around that age. I didn't have an application for that skill, so I was feeling like, okay, I noticed that I can, yeah, I don't know, I have a sense for this,
Yeah.
but I wasn't sure how I could.
How can you make money?
Yeah, how can I get rich quick with this
Exactly.
ability?
No, how can you monetize basically the skill that you are given, basically, or that you have?
I think yeah.
That's a good question.
Yeah, and that was something I reflected on for a while. And for the last years of the education, I didn't have a clue how on earth I would put that into practice. But then when that optional course came, it was really strange, but like it all clicked for me.
That was it for you.
Yeah, that was like the perfect combination of some creativity in a job, but also not too creative where you would get completely lost in creativity.
Right.
And then for me, it was just the right balance between the corporate world and also having the freedom of being able to express like a completely crazy character where other people can learn something from it. That was it was very much an eye opener.
So can you maybe also explain that what it is that you do as a corporate actor? Because you already said it's quite a creative process, and you get to be a bit different than normal.
Yeah.
But maybe talk us through what would be a day in an actor's life be like.
What it basically is you as an actor join at corporate training situations, and it can be leadership training or training situations about dealing with aggression in fields where that is necessary. For example, in the psychiatry field or in other care organizations.
So police or army things, right?
Yeah, I've also worked for the national police. Yeah, it can get quite extreme. And then as an actor, you join into those training moments where you deliver behavior on demand. And it can vary in all different kinds of subjects. So I've done a lot of aggression work, but also a lot of work in psychological vulnerabilities, as we call it. Another thing with this job that I want to delve into a little bit, there's a lot of people that hate working with a corporate training actor.
Yeah?
Yeah, definitely. And
why do you think that is? Yeah,
there's multiple aspects, I think. But first of all is that nobody likes being put on the spot in front of your colleagues in like a group setting where all of a sudden there's this trainer guy that is pointing at you and saying, now it's your turn. You can have a seat here in front of these 20 people that see you on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And you get to work with this actor who has full control over the situation.
What will happen,
and what will happen.
And you kind of feel like you have to perform at that moment.
So exactly.
Yeah. I have two questions. Was it for you also at certain points, maybe, how can I say it? Were you also nervous at certain moments as an actor? Because you said it can be people can be shy or nervous, but for you, because you do it more regularly, so you're obviously maybe more adjusted to that. But I can still imagine that there are situations.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. The times that I get nervous is especially at the moments where I have to work with a group or in a field that I'm really not familiar with.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So I can safely say that I've put in so much hours working for the railway company, for example, that I can confidently say that I can play like a good passenger.
All right.
It's that
You've
I'm
also
quite
been a
secure.
passenger quite a lot in
I've
your
been a
life,
passenger
I
quite a
imagine.
lot. I've used the railway. I'm confident in that regard, but sometimes I end up in situations and gigs where I'm really not familiar with any theoretical background of the employees that work there. For example,
I see.
I was at a few months ago. I had it was a 1 day training program for the hospital, and I came into that group, and they were all different managers in that medical field, and they were very cooperative at first, and I felt like they were giving quite some good input about how I could play the character. But the thing was that it were all managers from different departments within the hospital, and I had like this huge sensory overload
Oh, yeah.
in terms of all this new information coming at me, and then you have to imagine what an employee like they describe would act like,
Yeah.
and it's so easy to completely mess that up.
And how do you do that? Do you imagine then basically that you are that person in that situation, or do you create a new character that is that? Is it like Teun working at the hospital or being at the hospital, or is it
That's a good question.
person, unknown new person, let's say?
That varies as well.
Okay.
Some people really don't mind playing with their own name.
Yeah.
I prefer taking on a different name if it's like a very specific case that we're working on or that I'm acting out. I prefer it to be like a different name.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's more, for example, that somebody says, "Yeah, I want to work on how to deal with a colleague that's raising their voice a lot of times, and that's always belittling me, and it's a bit more broad," then I prefer actually using my own name and just putting the behavior out there and seeing where it goes.
Okay, so the second question I had was, if you are acting and you have to act for a certain situation to be a very angry trained passenger or a hooligan or something like that, how do you deal with the border between verbal anger when it connects to getting really physical? Because in real life that might really happen.
Yeah, right.
But this is just an acted situation. So how do you deal with that in that sense, like more also practically?
Yeah. Good question. We have, for a lot of training situations, we have a very strict protocol in, especially with aggression and how far you can go.
Mm-hmm.
And it is clear for everyone that it's never getting physical. So I don't do any physical work. There is actually, for the military, there is a lot of actors that do pretty heavy physical training. Yeah. And that's a whole subject on its own. But I've always find it interesting to hear from these guys.
And no physical means no touching, not pushing, also, or
exactly.
So touching is the clear line.
Yeah, that's the absolute limit where you have to stay away from. But it's strange that sometimes, like when you're in a working flow and you're just in this doing your thing, you don't really notice it as an actor. But sometimes afterwards, I really notice that I'm completely exhausted.
I imagine, yeah.
Yeah, and it's normal in every job, I guess. But I think it's very big factor is that you, especially with aggression work, there's like this physical part of it that you have to summon quite often.
For sure, yeah.
And it can be quite taxing.
Yeah, did you learn anything from that? Doing these things?
Yeah, definitely. There were a few eye openers. I think the biggest one is that in most of the training programs that are about aggression, you have this distinction between frustration aggression and instrumental aggression. And the frustration aggression is really just your everyday type of aggression. That's just overload of circumstance. People get angry, maybe trip out at the girl at the cash register or something. Not that people should do that daily,
but it does happen.
It happens. That type of aggression is, I find it sometimes quite hard to act that out because I rarely experience that myself. That I have. Of course, I experience frustration, but I'm not a type of guy that really outs it really quick.
No, and you have to have some kind of familiarity with that emotion in order to act it.
Yeah.
I just imagine a situation, maybe I'm on the street and someone would yell at me. If they really approach me, I guess that limit would be reached a bit quicker, because there's also a sense of like danger or coming into my zone. But I guess like if someone's just yelling from afar, I don't know. I would feel maybe more attacked if it has something to do with me personally.
Yeah.
That would maybe get me more than if it's like kind of unaimed, just shooting blanks at everyone. Okay, there's just a druggie on the street.
I'm thinking of one specific situation then that we experienced together actually. It was in Nijmegen on a night out.
Oh yeah.
And we were we were at the FEBO, I think, and there were two guys fighting inside of the FEBO. And I recall you stepping in as like the neutralizer,
the mediator, kind of.
And I still, like to this day, I'm sometimes thinking back, like there was really a class approach of the way you dealt it. But how, like in a situation like that, how does it feel for you if you encounter something?
So at that point, it was also not really like I was thinking about anything consciously. No. So it was just
and you were batshit drunk. No.
I don't drink alcohol, of course.
Oh, yeah, sorry. No.
So we were not sober anymore. But I cannot say that there was like a conscious consideration at that moment. But I think what I do, the feeling was a little bit like that. So the two guys were fighting.
Yeah.
And one guy was really trying to get out of it, and the other guy was really. But he didn't want to lose face also, and the other guy was really aggressive and probably also able to win that fight.
Yeah, right.
But he was like here with his emotion level, right? And everyone got a little bit upset, and I guess tried to. I don't know if I heard about it before or after that, but I think the best way to get someone out of this aggressive mood is to try to draw them into something completely different.
Yeah.
And make them a bit confused.
That's interesting.
So kind of what happened, I remember I had a cassoufflé, and I guess he like hit me and the cassoufflé fell down. And I was like, hey, you made me drop my cassoufflé. Like I got upset.
Damn, I could have dropped my croissant.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. When you just try to kind of like look here, like kind of but also in a way that
deflect like the focus of the aggression. Yeah, that's interesting. You're like completely on a rational level with this fighting guy, and you were saying, "Man, it's no use. It's pointless. This situation is pointless, man." And I found it so funny. I have no clue either, but it worked. It worked like charm. It was really cool.
And I also remember that the guy was asking me at some point, like, "Do you think I could beat him?"
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah. Very alpha way to handle that situation.
I don't know.
He was seeking approval, I guess.
I think he was. I think in the end, for a lot of these fight situations, both parties want to get out in a way that they don't have to lose face.
Exactly. I hope the guy came out healthy.
I'm pretty sure they're living a good life, a wife and kids. And
on the Bahamas, maybe retired.
Maybe they're doing better than us.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe they're looking at the video right now.
Yeah.
Hey guys. Give us a like. If you're watching, give us a like.
Yeah.
So that if we have at least 2 likes on this video, we know both guys are there.
And if you don't subscribe, Tim will drop his cassoufflé on the ground.
Fuck, I will come and get you. Yeah. But let's get back to your career.
Right. Sick.
Nice
transition.
Yeah. So I think we landed on what did you learn also something from the interaction that you had?
Yeah.
And I think you already partly answered that.
Yeah.
But I imagine you might learn from the way that these people handle you as well. So like how to deal with aggression now. Do you know how to deal with aggression? For instance, if you you know how to deal with it better than before, you think?
It sounds a bit arrogant to say, but I think so.
It's not arrogant. I think you spend a lot of hours doing that, right?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it really. For a while, I worked at the municipality here in Eindhoven during the COVID crisis.
Right.
And we got a lot of angry people that weren't happy with the way it got handled. and I had a lot of people on the phone at that time in my job, and that was a time where I really benefited from all the theory and all the hundreds of hours that I experienced, all these training sessions. Yeah, it's quite drilled into my subconscious.
Yeah, that's a good thing, right?
To have a sort of a structural approach, but it's a different thing to embody all those skills.
Yeah,
and there I see that I still have a lot to learn. Also because I'm still not that experienced. I'm not that old, so I don't have that
the weight.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's a very interesting thing. I think about that a lot, and a lot of also for myself. I don't want to draw the conversation too much to me now.
It's all fine.
Let's talk about me.
It's all fine.
No, but actually, a lot of positions, also leadership positions,
yeah,
they are often done by older people.
Yeah, right.
That have also a little bit of weight. Like I imagine at some point, I saw a lot of the technical leaders that we had at the company. They were all like fresh parents.
Oh, right.
And I was really wondering, is there a connection there that if you start to become a parent, do you get a bit more of that mature air? That you can handle these things, or
like a fresh leader. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah,
I smell fresh leaders.
Yeah.
But I don't think it has anything to do with age, but maybe maturity.
Yeah, it's a good question.
And I don't know what it is, because there are also some people who are very young who can also do it really well.
Yeah, that's a super interesting question. I tend to think that it's kind of linked to responsibility.
Right.
And I figure that if you are put in a position where you have to be able to keep a clear overview of what's going on and give clear instructions, etc., then I think when you're called to have those skills, you develop them in what way possible anyways.
True. So it's a bit, once you get that position, you will grow into it, and then you will also become the person.
I guess, I think that's my approach to it.
But would you say then the best way to learn is on the job?
Yeah, I guess.
Just do it.
Yeah, definitely.
And then maybe at the beginning it will feel
scary.
Yeah, scary and unfamiliar, but you will live it, and
maybe even a bit dishonest at some point. That you feel like you're not congruent with what you're saying.
Yeah, a bit like the imposter.
Definitely.
Kind of. Yeah, interesting.
Which I actually had on this podcast episode for a while.
It's going meta, taking it back. I was reading a very interesting book. It's about, it's a bit of a tangent, but I quickly wanted to point it out, on archetypes and shadows, shadow versions of that.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, in the intro of the book, it was saying actually that a lot of problems that we have nowadays has a lot to do with the fact that we don't have any rituals to transition from the boy psyche to the man psyche,
right?
Or let's say, to keep it like kind of gender open, to maturity.
Yeah.
Like in a lot of traditional tribal societies, they still have this transitioning from a boy to man, at least, and also from girl to woman.
Yeah, but I find it interesting that there's not one set path in our current culture where there's like one ritual that the majority of people follow to mature.
It's a bit splintered.
It's very splintered, and that maybe can also link to the feeling of maybe alienation, or feeling a bit alone in the community you're in.
But it is less clear what to do about it, right?
Yeah, right.
It's not really clear. It's just like, economy sucks, and where do I go from here? It's more like also an unguidedness, maybe similar to what you experienced at the end of your education.
Yeah, for example,
How do you feel about that?
About death? What? You're not gonna kill me at the end of this episode, right?
Have you seen women since my first episode?
No. He hasn't answered my calls.
How do you feel about that? The fact that society doesn't seem is a little bit in this jungle. Yeah, there's no clear path for
concrete jungle where dreams are made of. Dare I say? Yeah, but that's a good question. Tim. It's
Well, because you thrive in these kind of situations.
yeah, I used to think I would thrive in those situations
Okay.
because
Smooth transition. Yeah.
No, the thing is that I think I was a lot more naive about all the things that I could achieve. It felt like a great adventure, especially in the beginning.
And you could, right? You did. You
I
were
did.
making a living.
Yeah, I did for about 2 full years. It's been my sole income, and it worked. But I do see the downside of it as well a lot more clearly now.
Okay. And what?
Yeah.
Can you explain a little bit what is the downside for you?
One thing that kind of happened was that where at the beginning I was having very much of this adventurous spirit and always chasing a new gig
Yeah.
that I could encounter and very keen on trying new stuff. At some point, I found it very difficult that I was always imagining how a working person would act as a job.
Right.
So I got a bit into like a sort of a meta state
Oh wow!
for
Yeah, I
a
see
long
that.
while, where I felt like I didn't really connect with the working field anymore.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
that, I found it quite difficult.
Because you didn't experience that life at the office
Yeah, for
yourself,
example, yeah.
and then you have to kind of daydream what it would be like.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, that's a very strange
It's a
situation.
really strange way of working,
Yeah.
and especially because I did it full time, basically.
Was it related to feeling a bit of loneliness and disconnectedness?
Right.
Because we, the normal working people,
Yeah.
go to an office where you have colleagues,
Exactly.
you have the coffee talk,
Yeah,
like
right.
kind of a small family, if
Yeah.
you want. But then you are the person who is basically a one-man army,
Yeah, exactly.
and then you have to go into that, experience what they're experiencing,
Right.
pretending to be part,
Right.
and then going out.
Yeah, exactly.
That also enhances that feeling of
Exactly.
I'm actually not a part of
Yeah,
it.
like alienation.
Fuck,
And then
yeah.
sometimes you had these super nice groups of people where you felt like,
Can I stay
man,
here?
can I please just
Yeah,
stay
can I-
here
yeah.
for a few months or
Do
something?
you need maybe still more acting work?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe bring you guys some coffee for the
Yeah.
next couple of months. Can I do some?
So what did you do to overcome that?
It's a good question.
I know that you are.
Segueing into the present.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've recently switched, and not fully. So I still work as a corporate actor, corporate training actor, but I transitioned into becoming a social counselor for the Ukrainian refugees.
And that is giving you a bit of the collegial setting that you
Yeah.
would enjoy, or maybe even with the people who stay there, right? Because they're
As
also
well.
the same.
Yeah,
Is that filling your needs?
definitely. Yeah, it was kind of. I didn't expect it to make such a big difference as that it did, because I think approximately like 1 month of working there, I really started to get to know the people that live there temporarily, and also my colleagues, of course. And it's really just, it felt like a huge relief.
And now you have a bit of the best of both worlds, maybe.
Yeah.
So you have the stability giving you the income and the collegial environment that you needed, but you still also get to do the acting that you like.
Exactly. Yeah. So I've a few days in the month that I still am available for acting work, and that's
sweet.
Yeah, that's been going well. It's also nice that the experience from the refugee shelter that I have there translate quite well to a lot of the gigs I do now.
Oh yeah, okay,
So
sure.
that's also nice to absorb and put into my own acting work. So
and I imagine vice versa. A lot of stuff that you learned is also like the crisis management stuff.
Definitely. So
it's all meant to be.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it's a good crossover, definitely. Yeah.
Hey, Teun, if you would look back now and you would imagine yourself at the start of your career, or maybe someone else in that similar position, do you have any advice for them, or things to look out for?
Very practical one is get bookkeeping software straight away.
Bookkeeping?
Yeah, as a freelancer, I did my own bookkeeping and still do. Just get the right software straight away.
That helps out a lot.
That helps out a lot. I think that it's okay to try out various things, and don't stress too much about if it's the. It's gonna sound very cliche.
Just say it.
Don't stress too much about if it's the perfect direction that you're going in, because I think looking back, I could stress out a lot about whether I would be going in a straight line, progressing all the time, and yeah, I just was quite a perfectionist in that sense. But it's, yeah, I feel like if you just go with the flow a bit more and stay open to opportunities that feel right, will fall into place.
Yeah, how would you, because there seems to be a bit of duality in yourself then, right? Because
Yeah,
you say in one part you like the open-endedness and the kind of opportunity,
yeah.
and you also say it's okay not to take the straight path, but
Yeah.
you're also saying kind of you're a perfectionist.
Yeah,
So have you been struggling with that yourself?
I have a complicated set of attributes. Shit. That's a good question again. It's
It's just interesting. I think a lot of
Yeah.
people have that actually, right?
I guess,
But-
because a lot of people that I speak to also have kind of a dream of doing some freelance work,
Mhm.
or maybe have a.
But they don't dare to do it.
Some do.
But this is, I guess, but I hear a lot of people who would like to have their own business or do freelance or
Yeah,
something,
right.
but they don't dare to make that step. But you,
Yeah.
it was basically the first thing that you did.
Yeah.
Fresh from uni,
Yeah,
you said,
that's quite
"Fuck it,
quite
guys."
strange. I
Yeah.
know it's
But I always felt that it fit you quite well.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
And I think you are very creative.
Yeah, I think I'm creative in making it work, and I approached it the right way. I think in terms of in the beginning, just really putting a lot of effort into getting my first clients, and building good relationships. I sound like a business influencer.
No, this is great. This is great.
So-
I'm gonna highlight that.
Yeah. But I think that was going very well, especially in the beginning. But I also, and that's speaking on that duality, I also had a romanticized image of that freelance person that I was going to be. There was a lot of, part of my ego, let's say, found it very, wanted to be interesting as well.
Oh yeah.
And that's one thing that I really let go of way more in the last couple of months, that you don't have anything to prove. You don't have to be any more interesting than you are.
You're plenty interesting. I know that for sure already.
You're as well.
Thanks.
Definitely.
But you then kind of make that choice that trying to, in a way, act and perform all the time. Is too exhausting.
Exactly.
So I mean, you're still acting, but I mean, like the acting of then trying to act to be someone who always has to be interesting.
Right. Yeah, and to kind of act into that character that you have dreamed up.
Do you have a kind of ambition where you want to go? Is it financial freedom? Is it a kind of environment? Like what would your job related or maybe life related ambitions be, if you could name them?
Good question. Well, for the short future, I'm really super happy at the place that I'm working in now. Also, the combination, like, for me, it worked very well. At some point, wanna end up in a house where I have a dedicated music room.
Okay.
That's one of my biggest dreams. Yeah, I wanna develop my my own foundation as a social counselor. I want to continue in making that foundation stronger.
So basically, you want to get really better and professional at what you are currently doing.
Yeah, that's way way more cohesive. Nice.
Okay, now I'm just trying to summarize what you were saying. I think it's beautiful, and it's also a nice. It seems like a very pure ambition. Because it's more related to what you said earlier, and to be. I wish I could paraphrase better.
Are you even listening?
No, but you said that you wanted you wanted to be a vessel to help people,
Right, yeah,
something like that.
the instrument. I
Wow,
wanted to be the instrument. Yeah,
yeah, that's beautiful. And I think
thanks, man. Yeah,
if you look at what you're doing right now, actually, right, you are the instrument, and you are trying to help people,
yeah, I guess
living the dream, you might say.
Yeah, well, yeah, that specific dream. Yeah, I am. Yeah,
Do you
yeah.
have any final words or thoughts? What do you want to mention? How do you want people to remember you
Oh shit! Oh.
after you die?
In memoriam.
As Chris Voss always
Sheesh.
says, the last impression is the lasting impression.
The bar is set high, Tim.
The floor is yours.
I would complete blackout. Get bookkeeping software.
Guys, thanks for watching. Yeah, this was it for this episode. Thanks for watching and have a nice day.
Cheers, guys.